The rain never stops in Viral Prime's lower levels. Falls like tears from the metal sky above, mixing with oil and rust as it flows through the broken streets. Tonight the drops hit harder than usual, each one like a tiny hammer against the crumbling walkways. Cyrus pulls his hood tight and moves fast through the maze of wet alleys. His boots splash through dirty puddles that reflect the neon signs hanging overhead. Red, blue, green, the colors dance on the water. Like ghosts before his footsteps, scatter them into ripples. The tall buildings around him stretch up so high that their tops disappear into the thick, oily clouds. Down here in the shadows, the air tastes like metal and desperation. Garbage fills every corner. Broken bottles crunch under his feet. The smell of rotting food mixes with the sharp scent of electric wires and burned plastic. He keeps one hand deep in his jacket pocket, fingers wrapped around the handle of his old stun baton. The weapon has saved his life 3 times this month. He hopes he won't need it tonight, but hope is a luxury he can't afford anymore. This place feels like a trap. Every street looks the same. Every shadow could hide an enemy. But Cyrus has nowhere else to run. For 6 long months, he's been dodging debt collectors and corporate thugs. Men in shiny armor with cold, dead eyes who hunt people like him for sport. He used to have a real job. Salvage work on the outer rings of the station, pulling valuable scrap from old spaceships. The pay wasn't much, but it was honest work. Then, everything went wrong at once. His equipment broke down during a big job. The loan he took to fix it came with interest rates that climbed higher every day. Soon he owed more money than he could make in a year. Now he drifts from one hiding spot to another like smoke. He sleeps in back rooms of cheap bars, does small jobs for criminals, eats whatever scraps he can find. He never plans more than one day ahead because he might not live to see tomorrow. Every time he thinks he's safe, someone spots him. The station isn't big enough to disappear completely. The corporations have too many eyes watching. The debt grows bigger every day, like a cancer eating him alive from the inside. Cyrus crosses a slick street, its eyes always moving, always watching for patrol drones. The floating robots buzz through the air like metal insects, their cameras recording everything. Above him, broken advertisements flicker on and off. They promise easy money, cheap food, body modifications that will make you beautiful or dangerous, or both. His stomach makes angry noises at the smell of fried meat from a nearby food cart. The smell makes his mouth water, but stopping to eat would be stupid. He needs to keep moving. He needs to stay invisible. He ducks into a narrow alley between 2 crumbling apartment blocks. The walls are covered in graffiti written in 6 different alien languages. Some of it glows in the dark with biopaint. The rest is carved deep into the metal with knives or laser cutters. Cyrus leans against the wall and tries to catch his breath. His ribs still hurt from the fight 3 nights ago. 2 debt collectors cornered him near the old canal lifts. They took half his credits and left him bleeding in the mud like garbage. He touches the purple bruise under his jacket and his jaw gets tight with anger. He can't go back to the upper levels of the station until he finds more money. But down here, the only jobs available are the kind that get you killed or arrested. Sometimes both. A voice cuts through the sound of falling. Rain, soft and broken, like glass cracking. Please help me. Cyrus turns his head fast, every muscle going tight. A woman stands at the mouth of the alley with her arms wrapped around herself. Her head hangs down like she's carrying something too heavy to lift. Rain drips from her hair onto the dirty ground. Her skin is pale blue, the color of deep water, or winter sky. It's slick with rain, but underneath, Cyrus can see faint lines of light pulsing like liquid electricity flowing through her veins. The thin garment she wears clings to her body, changing from silver to pink under the neon glow of the signs above. She lifts her head slowly, and Cyrus feels his breath catch in his throat. Her eyes are huge and silver black, like mirrors made of dark water. They reflect his face back at him. making him look like a stranger to himself. His first thought is to run. Strange aliens show up in these slums all the time. Usually, they're selling something illegal or hiding from something worse. But there's something in her voice that cuts through all his caution. Raw terror. The kind that comes from being hunted by things with no mercy. She takes a step closer, and Cyrus can see that she's shaking. Not from the cold, but from fear so deep it's eating her alive from the inside. "I can't stay out here," she whispers. "They'll find me. I've nowhere to go." Cyrus clenches his jaw and tells himself to keep walking. But he can see her hands trembling, the skin scraped and bloody around her knuckles. The fabric she wears is torn in places, showing cuts and bruises underneath. Her ribs press sharp against her flesh like she hasn't eaten in days. "Who's after you?" he asks, his voice coming out rougher than he intended. She reaches out and grabs his jacket with both hands. Cade tenses up, ready to push her away, but her grip is weak and desperate. Her voice cracks when she speaks again, like something inside her is breaking apart. "They want what's inside me. I'm not safe. Please, I need someone to help me breathe. I have no one left." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. Cyrus stares at her, his mind racing through possibilities. He doesn't trust anyone, especially not strangers who show up in dark alleys begging for help. But something about the way she says it, raw and frightened and completely honest, hits him in a place he thought was dead. Maybe it's because he's been so alone for so long. Maybe it's the way her voice echoes in the empty spaces inside him, the places where hope used to live. She looks up at him with rain dripping from her long eyelashes, and he sees himself reflected in her silver eyes. "If they find me, they'll cut it out," she whispers. "They'll sell it to the highest bidder. I can't go back there. I'd rather die." Cyrus curses under his breath and looks around the alley. Behind him, the street is empty except for the rain. But in the distance, he can hear footsteps echoing off the metal walls. Heavy boots moving in formation, maybe patrol drones. Maybe corporate sweep teams. Maybe the people hunting her. He can't leave her standing here. She'll attract attention, and worse, she might be telling the truth. Something in her voice, in the way she holds herself, tells him she's been through hell and barely escaped. He grabs her wrist and pulls her into the deeper shadows. "Come on," he says, his voice flat and hard. "I know a place." They move quickly. Along the alley, past pipes that leak steam and vents that hiss with escaping gas. The air gets warmer as they go deeper, filled with the smell of hot metal and ozone. Emergency lights flicker overhead, casting their shadows on the walls like dancing ghosts. At the end of the alley, Cyrus stops at a rust-stained service hatch. The metal is old and dented, held together by bolts that have seen better days. He forces it open with a grunt, the hinges screaming in protest. "Get in," he says. Pushing her through the opening ahead of him, the hatch slams shut behind them with a sound like thunder. Sealing out the rain and the danger above, the tunnel beyond is narrow and warm, filled with the steady hum of power conduits that run along the ceiling like metal veins. Emergency lights blink red every few meters, painting everything in shades of blood and shadow. Cyrus wipes rain from his face and watches her press herself against the tunnel wall. She's clutching her belly like something inside her hurts. Breath comes in short, rapid bursts. He can see the glowing veins in her throat pulsing with each heartbeat, like a neon sign advertising her fear. He tries to steady his own breathing, but his chest feels tight. Not from running, but from something else. The loneliness he's been carrying around like a weight has cracked open, letting in feelings he thought were dead. He hates how much he wants to believe her story. He hates how much he wants someone, anyone, to need him. Above them, heavy boots thump against the wet pavement. A harsh voice barks orders in a language that sounds like grinding metal. Cyrus holds his breath and listens. He knows that sound. Enforcer squads backed by corporate money and ruthless enough to kill anyone who gets in their way. He takes her hand and pulls her deeper into the tunnel. "Stay close," he mutters. Her fingers squeeze his so tight that her nails dig into his skin. Her body is shaking, heat radiating from her bare shoulders like fever. He doesn't know what she is or what's really growing inside her, but he can't turn away now. He leads her into the darkness, his heart pounding, ready for whatever comes. Next dot, the tunnel stretches ahead of them like a metal throat. The walls are lined with cracked conduit housings that leak sparks and static electricity. Cyrus moves first, guiding her through the dim red pulses of the emergency lights. He doesn't speak, his jaw tight with concentration. Every step has to be perfect. Every sound could give them away. His boots scrape rust flakes from the metal, grating beneath them. The hum of machinery above rattles dust into the air, making his throat burn. Behind him, she stumbles once, her breath catching like a sob. He tightens his grip on her wrist and pulls her upright, glancing back to make sure they're still alone. No sign of pursuit yet. Just the steady drip of condensation from overhead pipes, echoing like hollow knocks against metal. But he knows they won't be safe for long. The enforcers are good at their job, and their job is hunting people like them. As they walk, Cyrus forces himself to think past the adrenaline pumping through his veins. Who is she really? What exactly is inside her that has them so desperate? To get it back, he barely understands what she told him back in the alley. Something about being cut open and sold like meat. But in viral primes, black markets, anything is possible. He's heard rumors about corporate labs that steal alien breeders, strip their DNA, use them in secret programs to build hybrid soldiers or create new drugs. He's seen the aftermath too. Bodies dumped in the canals with their skin flayed open, and their organs missing. The memory makes him sick. He pushes it away and keeps walking. They reach a side corridor that branches off into complete darkness. Cyrus slows down and pulls her close. Her breath comes in shallow bursts, and he can feel heat pulsing off her skin like she's burning up from the inside. Through his fingers, he can feel her heartbeat racing like a bird trying to escape a cage. "Who are they?" Kui asks, keeping his voice low. She blinks up at him, and he sees tears gathering at the corners of her huge eyes. Enforcers. The ones who took the others. I ran before they could take me too. They don't care what happens to us. Her voice is raw and real, not like someone telling a lie. It scrapes against old scars in his memory, bringing back his own experiences of being dragged away by guild thugs when he couldn't pay his debts. He wipes rain from his forehead with the back of his hand. "And what exactly do they want from you?" Swallows hard, her voice dropping to a whisper that barely carries over the hum of the machinery. "I'm carrying something. I don't know what to call it. They planted it inside me, changed me. I didn't agree to any of it, but now they want it back and they'll kill me to get it." Cyrus feels something cold and hollow open up in his gut. This isn't some con artist with a sob story designed to part him from his credits. He can hear the truth in the way her voice shakes. He can see it in the faint smears of dried blood near the thin tears in her garment. Where something beneath the fabric throbs with blue light, he looks away, unable to meet her eyes. "You're telling me you are part of some kind of experiment?" She nods, one hand clutching her belly protectively. Her voice turns bitter, filled with a hatred that surprises him with its intensity. "I was supposed to be disposable, a test tube with legs. A breathing incubator. That's all they wanted me for." The words sink into him like acid, eating away at the barriers he's built around his heart. He doesn't know how much of her story is true, but he's seen enough corporate evil to believe every word of it. These companies treat people like products, especially the poor and desperate who have no one to protect them. He pulls her along, moving faster now. They duck under a sagging conduit line and step into a junction chamber where thick cables snake along the floor. It's humming with enough electricity to kill them both if they touch the wrong wire. Cyrus pauses there to catch his breath. She leans against the wall beside him, sweat glistening along her collarbone. The thin fabric of her garment clings even tighter around her hips with every labored breath she takes. Outside the chamber, faint shouts echo through the tunnels. Mechanical voices barking commands in harsh, clipped tones. The enforcers are getting closer, sweeping through the underground passages like hounds following a scent. Cyrus scans the chamber quickly, looking for another way out. He sees rusted crates stacked in one corner, broken breathing apparatus scattered on the floor, and a maintenance ladder bolted to the wall that leads up to a narrow catwalk and another hatch. He motions for her to stay quiet, pressing a finger to his lips. Her glowing eyes go wide, and she nods frantically. He climbs the ladder first, testing each rung to make sure it won't break under their weight. The hatch at the top screeches like a dying animal as he pushes it open, revealing a maintenance platform above the chamber. He reaches down and pulls her up after him. She winces with every step, one hand never leaving her lower belly, protecting whatever grows inside her. On the platform, they crouch low behind the metal railings, watching through gaps in the grating as two enforcers enter the chamber below. They're matte black. Armor gleams dully under the emergency lights. Military-grade rifles sweep the shadows, searching for any sign of movement. Cyrus grips her shoulder tightly, keeping her from making any sound that might give them away. Her breath comes in quick, warm puffs against his neck, and he can feel every muscle in his body go tight with tension. One enforcer stops directly below them near the base of the ladder. The red visor of his helmet tilts upward, scanning the darkness above. For one terrible second, Cyrus is sure they've been spotted. He can almost feel the laser sights painting targets on their backs. Then the radio crackles on the soldier's shoulder. A distorted voice barks something in that grinding alien language, and the enforcer grunts in response. He turns away from the ladder and stalks out of the chamber, his partner following close behind. Their boots ring against the metal floor until the sound fades into the distance. Only then does she exhale, her shoulders slumping with relief. Cyrus doesn't let go of her until he hears the door slam shut far below them. In the dim red glow of the emergency lights, he studies her face, looking for answers to questions he's afraid to ask. Her face, pale veins faintly pulsing under her skin, sweat shining on her neck, should leave her. He should walk away, disappear into the maze of tunnels. It's what he's done every time someone has tried to drag him into their trouble, but he can't. Something about the way Shell looked at him in that alley won't let him run the hollow place in him. A chesty, same emptiness that's kept him moving from one miserable corner of this station to the next, trying to outrun a life where nobody would miss him if he vanished. He gripped her wrist voice, Lobot. Steady, you're staying with me at least until I figure this out. She nods quickly, tears slipping free. Why me? He's voice rough. She swallows, voice breaking. Because you didn't walk away, because you looked at me like I mattered. That's enough. Somewhere deeper in the tunnels, a muffled boom rattles dust-frothed pipes above, followed by another barked command. Cyrus looks toward the catwalk exit, then back at her. He nods, jaw tight. Then we move. He says, stay quiet, stay close. He pulls her toward the hatch at the end of the platform, leading her into the dark again as the echoes of boots and radio chatter grow closer. In his chest, fear churns with something he hasn't felt in months, a flicker of purpose, sharp and painful, keeping his feet moving through the shadows. He doesn't know what waits for them, but he knows this: he won't let them take her net while he can still fight. The catwalk hatch leads into a narrow shaft lined with corroded maquillage, and with corroded steel panels. Cyrus's sit shut behind them, pressing his shoulder against the cold metal until the latch clicks. He waits, listening. The echo of boots fades into the distance, muffled by thick walls. The only sound left is Ashara's unsteady breathing. He looks around. The shaft branches off in tautwo passages, one marked with faded hazard symbols, the other descending into deeper maintenance corridors. He chooses the left, guiding her through the tight space. His hand never leaves the grip off stun baton in his pocket. Asher moves unsteadily, gripping the wall. Forbalance, he notices. It's a faint trail of glowing droplets where her bare feet talk the metal grating. You're bleeding, he mutters. She nods, breath shivering at. It's normal for my kind. When we're carrying, Cyrus frowns. What exactly is inside you? She hesitates, clutching her stomach voice. Lo, I don't know what they did. They took me from my colony. I woke in a lab. They said it would be worth more. Alive if it grew inside. Me, I didn't even know if it's a child. Cyrus swallows hard. That hollow churn in his gut sharpens into anger. He's syncorporate. Cruelty. How they chew up the weak and toss away what's left. But something about her trembling voice, the helpless way she grips the wall, grates against every scar he's carried since salvage yards. He forces his voice steady. Why were you in that alley tonight? Asher breathed shallow, ice flicking toward him. I escaped hours ago. I was running. I thought if I could get to the lower docks, I could find a ship I'd. Then they started sweeping the sector. I couldn't keep going. I thought maybe someone would help me. She looks at him, fear mixing with something fragile hope. You didn't walk away, Cyrus grunts, turning his face away. He's not a hero. He knows that he's just a man too tired to run from himself. They reach an old bulkhead door near the end of the shaft. He tries the control panel, but it spit sparks and flickers out. He growls under his breath, shoving his shoulder into Theodore until it groans open. The room beyond is dark, lit only by dim overhead strips buzzing in and out of life. Stacks of broken cargo crates line the wall. Sold maintenance drones lie like gutted on the floor, their eyes dark, wire changing. Like torn veins, he guides Asher in helping her to a stack of crates. She collapses onto them, shivering, arms wrapped around her belly. Cyrus checks door again, forcing the broken control panel to close it. The lock winds catching just enough to keep it shut. He moves to Ashara's side, crouching low, yawning to rest. He says, I can't, she whispers. They're still out there. We'll stay until they're gone, he growls. Then we move again. Her eyes dart to the door, fear pulsing in the bioluminescent lines of her neck. You don't know them. They never stop. Cyrus grips her shoulder, forcing her to look at him. Listen. I've been running my whole damn life, hiding from people who wanted to carve me up for credits. I'm still breathing. That's how you survive here. One day, one tunnel, one fight at a time. Asher shudders, tears slipping free. I don't want to die. Alanisarus looks away, voice tight. You won't. For a long moment the room goes quiet, subside for the hiss of leaking coolant somewhere in the shadows. Cyrus rests his elbows on his knees, feeling the tension throb in his jaw. He wonders, just briefly, how he ended up here. He thinks of the debt collectors, the men he killed in back alleys to stay free, the old salvage rig drifting cold and dead where he left it months ago. He never planned on protecting anyone again, but he can't leave her. He won't. Asher breathes slowly, shoulders slumping. Her voice is almost too soft to hear. Why are you helping me? Cyrus doesn't answer. He just stares at the cracked floor, hands clenched into fists. Minutes crawl by. Then distant voices echo beyond the bulkhead. Enforcers again, hunting, scannings, zhurging. Asher stiffens, clutching him. He grips her hand, keeping her quiet. The footsteps grow louder, moving past the door. A metallic thunk as a soldier kicks a nearby panel. Static crackles over their radios, harsh commands in alien ting. Then slowly the sounds fade. Cyrus waits another minute, counting each beat off his pulse. When he's sure they're gone, he exhales, voice low. We have to move, Thellinger. We sit, the more chance they double back. Asher tries to stand, legs trembling. He catches her, steadying her with one arm. There's a dock tunnel further south, Cyrus says. Old smuggler path. It might still connect to a cargo bay. We get there, find a ship. Then where? In Asher nods, weakly voice. Okay, but they'll be waiting. They know where. I try to go. Cyrus pulls the stun baton from his jacket, thumb brushing the activations. Ted. He feels the low hum of power. They'll have to kill me first, he mutters. Asher looks at him with wide, dark eyes. The fear is still there, but beneath it sees trust starting to form, fragile but real. Outside, the echoes of the enforcers fade into the hum of machinery. Cyrus steels himself, tightening his grip. The baton. He isn't sure what waits beyond this room. Another ambush, Mabedith. But for the first time in months, he feels something like purpose crackling in his chest. He leads her back toe, The door muscles tense ready. He won't run this time. He'll fight the door drones open, scraping against warped. Metal Cyrus steps out first, baton ready scanning the corridor. The emergency lights flicker overhead, casting broken pools of red and white across the dam floor. He hears nothing but the hiss of old vents and the steady drip of water into metal pans scattered. Along the passage, Asher follows, one hand pressed against the wall, the other rapid protectively. Around her stomach, her skin glows faintly in the half-light. The pulse of blue veins more pronounced now. Cyrus sees it, the slight tremor in her legs. She bites down hard on her lower lip to keep from whimpering. He forces himself to focus. He doesn't have time to think about what they put inside her, or what it means every second they linger. The enforcers tighten their sweep. Henos, their pattern fast raids, methodical tunnel clearances, double patrols near any rumored escape route. Helod's her south past rusted valves and hanging cables ducking under broken ductwork that sags like dead limbs. Theka Rider splits ahead, one path marked with smeared hazard glyphs, the other leading into darkness. Cyrus chooses the dark. Asher breathes. Horror behind him. What if they're waiting? He keeps moving. They might be, doesn't matter. She stumbles. He catches her elbow, pulling her upright. You don't have to do this, whispers. He doesn't answer. He thinks of his own past nights hiding in ventilation shafts, knuckles raw from brawls over scraps of food, the cold glare of corporate collectors. Dragging why, anyone too weak to resist. No one had stayed for him. They move deeper into the passage, the walls closing tight around them, slime coating the floor and slick streaks. Cyrus keeps its one hand on the wall, feeling vibrations. Distant rumble of machinery, maybe a cargo tram far below. Tell me more about them, he says. Voice low. Asher swallows. They call themselves harvesters, hired enforcers. Paid by the corporations, they take in union with potential strong genes, rare biology. They breed us, harvest the offspring, sell them. Her voice cracks raw, pain leaking through. They did it to Miss Esther. I watched them cut her open. Cyrus clenches his jaw so tight his teeth hurt. Have heard stories, he mutters, didn't want to believe them. They kept us in cages, she continues, voice feigned sometimes. They came at night, picked out one of us. We didn't come back. I ran one. The locks failed during shift change. He notices how she never uses the word baby. Whatever is growing inside Harriet's. More than that, or maybe she can't bring herself to call it a child born of terror, bred in a lab. They reach a sealed bulkhead. Cyrus tests the handle, jammed. He yanks. Harder metal screeching until latch snaps free. Beyond the door, a narrow shaft slopes downward, lit only by old chemical glow strips. It leads to a side dock. He says used to be smugglers moving unregistered tech. Through here, they left fast. When security tightened a few years back. How do you know? He smirks. Bitterly, I used to run crates for Thembo. Everything went a. Asher follows him into the shaft. The glow strips bathe her in sickly green light, making the veins in her throat pulse brighter. I don't even know what it is, she murmurs. I can feel it growing. I don't know if it feels me. Cyrus stops, turning to her. You think they'll stop hunting you if they get it back? Her jaw trembles. No, they'll cut out, kill me then. Start again with someone else. A flicker of anger cracks through his exhaustion. Not going to happen. She looks up at him, tears brimming. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. He thinks of the dead. Silence of the back alleys, the endless nights with no one calling his name. Maybe because I know what it's like to be hunted, he says, voice flat. Maybe I'm just too tired to let them win. The shaft shudders underfoot somewhere far below tiles. Like someone dropped a crate onto an echoing deck. Cyrus frees eyes. Narrowing move. He whispers, grabbing her hand. They descend, fast footfalls echoing down the metal slope. The shaft opens into a cavernous loading area stacked high with rusted containers. Old scaffolds tower overhead, shadows swallowing the ceiling. Asher staggers, pressing her palm against her side. A faint blue fluid smears across her skin. Cyrus scans the area, eyes catching a rusted cargo shuttle half. It's buried behind crates, its hatch hanging open. That's our ride. He mutters. Asher sags against them. Breath rasping. I don't know if I can run. He lifts her muscles, screaming with the weight. He grits his teeth, pushing through the pain. Plasma fire explodes from the upper catwalks, scorching the deck near his feet. Enforcers spill onto the scaffolds, red visors sweeping the shadows, rifles with deadly charge. Cyrus ducks behind a container. Heart-hammering sparks rain from the metal where plasma bolts strike, sizzling through. The Arasher clings to him, whispering frantically, "They'll cut it out. They'll kill us both." He grips the bat knuckles white. "They'll have to go through me first." He glances at the shuttle. It's 15 meters away, no cover, but it's their only chance. He shifts his weight, muscles coiled. Then he runs, dragging Asher with him as plasma firelights up the corridor behind them. The crack off riffles, echoing like thunder. The shuttle door slams shut behind them, just as plasma bolts spark off the hull, scorching the outer plating with streaks of glowing slag. Cyrus staggers forward, dragging Asher across the narrow cabin, his shoulder slamming into a bulkheader. Breath hitches soft and ragged against his neck. He hits the manual ignition on the console. Warning lights flash across the cracked screen. The engines whine, sputter, then catch with a deep rumble that shakes the deck. Dust rains from overhead pipes as the vessel vibrates to life. Outside, the Enforcer shout, boots pounding across the deck toward the ramp. Cyrus sees the glowing guard of their visors through the porthole. He grits his teeth, slams the throttle forward. The shuttle lurches, upward inertia throwing him against the pilot's seat. Asher slides to the deck, gripping the metal floor with her nails. Her synth-wrapped body shivers in the emergency lighting, sweat dripping down her collarbone. A plasma bolt punches through the hole, searing a hole in the rear compartment. The cabin fills with smoke. Asher cries out, crawling toward him on her hands and knees, lips trembling. Cyrus grabs her wrist, yanks her up onto the seat beside him. The console spits, sparks, alarms wailing, but the engines hold. The shuttle rises fast, clearing the docking bay through the cracked viewport. He sees the jagged neon screen shrinking. Below, the glow of Enforcer rifles flickering uselessly in the gloom. He cuts lateral thrusters, stabilizing the ship. His arms shake, sweat rolling down his temple. Asher presses her forehead against his shoulder, breath hot on his skin. "I thought they'd kill us," she gasps. "They almost did." He mutters, eyes locked on the Navy readout. He can barely make out the safe corridor routes. Half the system is dead. Old code scrolling in glitchy text. Ship trembles again. A deep groan through the frame. He pulls back on the throttle, setting the autopilot to drift away from the station's outer ring. The distant lights of Viral Prime shrink into. The black silence falls. The alarms die. Just the hum of the engines. The shallow rasp of Ashara's breath. The blood pounding in his ears. She leans into him, body trembling. He feels the slick heat of her skin. The faint glow off bioluminescent veins, lighting the cabin in soft blue pulses. Cyrus lowers his shed forehead, brushing hers. "We're clear for now," says. Voice rough, she lets out a soft sob, clutching his jacket and shaking fists. "Thank you," she whispers. "Thank you for not leaving me, for not letting them." Her words trail off her lips, graze his cheek. He feels her shiver, her breath shaky, pulse hammering against him. The tension between them is a living thing, fed by fear, exhaustion, and the raw electricity of surviving together. Shag grips his shoulder, pulling herself closer. The scent fabric clinging to her body is damp with sweat and blood. Tori along her ribs, he sees the bruises on her hips, the faint blue smear of blood across her belly. His stomach twists at the thought of what they did to her, what they plan to do. Again she presses her lips to his ear, voice shaking. "Please, I need you. Breathe with me, please." "I have one left." The words slam through him, raw and desperate. His mind races, ever illogical thought screaming at him to slow down. Think, plan, but his body aches for her warmth, his blood roaring in his veins. He pulls her close hands, sliding along her back, feeling the tremor in her muscles. She presses her mouth to his, hungry, breathless, the taste of sweat and salt sharp on his tongue. He grips her hips, guiding her onto his lap, the hum of the ship vibrating through them. Both her thighs tighten around him, heat radiating from her core. Her hands knot in his hair, pulling him closer, breath breaking into soft gasps. He feels her. Need the firth loneliness? The trembling desire for something real, something that isn't needles and cages and cold metal tables. Answers it, pulling her tighter, letting the last wall inside him crack and crumble. Asher arches against him, voice rough, pleading, "Don't stop, don't leave me." Not now. Cyrus exhales, hard throat dry, pulls thudding so loud it drowns out the hum of the shuttle's engines. He grips her hips tighter, feeling the heat of her through the thin synth fabric. Clinging damp to her skin, shifts her weight, straddling him, fully the curve of her thighs pressing against his sides. Her breathing is shallow, quick, each gasp shivering through her slender frame. Her luminous eyes never leave his wide and glassy anthedum glow of the cabin lights. A faint blue pulse flickers along the veins tracing her neck and collarbone, matching the rapid beat of her heart. Cyrus has never felt anything like this. He's been with women, quick fumbling moments in dockside rooms, empty exchanges, drowned in cheap liquor, and loneliness. But this is different. There's no space for caution or cynicism here. Her need spills raw. Across her trembling voice, laced with fear and relief and hunger, all at taunts Asher pushes. Closer, hips rolling slowly against him, her breath hitching in her throat. He feels every shift of her body, the warmth, the damp heat gathering where their bodies press tight, the subtle flex of muscles beneath her shimmering skin. Her head dips, lips brushing along his jaw, her fangs grazing his skin with a delicate scrape. That sent a shock through him. I never wanted this," she whispers, voice ragged. "But with you, I feel alive. I feel like 'em. Not just something for them to cut open." He cups the back of her head, fingers tangling in the fine strands off her pale hair. He pulls her mouth to his, tasting the salt of sweat, the faint metallic temps of her alien scent. Strangely sweet and electric, she moans softly into the kiss her hips. Moving faster, grinding down against him in slow-building waves, a low growl rumbles. In his chest, primal and unguarded heifer gets the debt collectors, the enforcers. The broken station, drifting beyond the thin metal walls of Thay shuttle, all he knows is her heat, her softness, the fragile desperation in every whimper that escapes her. Lips she pulls back, staring down at him with eyes gone dark and shining chest heaving as the synth fabric shifts around her curves. Slipping lower along her hips, her hands plant against his chest, nails dragging lightly through the sweat-damp fabric of his shirt. "I want you," she breathes. "I need you inside me now." Cyrus feels the words slam through him, wiping away the last edge of hesitation. He grips her hips harder, guiding her as she shifts again, lifting just enough to pull aside the torn folds of synth wrap around her thighs. He moves slowly, at first guiding himself into her, feeling the slick, tight heat as her body tacks him in. Asher gasps sharply, nails digging into his chest, her hips shuddering as sinks onto him. Fully she lets out a broken moan, head falling back, the faint glow of her veins brightens, pulsing faster as she begins to rock against him, slow, at first building in rhythm. With each labored breath, Cyrus groans, gripping her tighter, feeling the tension win through his muscles like a coil ready to snap. Her body clings to him, hottened, soft. Every slight shift sending shivers through his spine. Asher leans forward, pressing her forehead to his lips, brushing his as she pants out broken words. "I've never felt this, never wanted anyone but you." He thrusts up into her, slow but steady, matching. Her Pasithera bodies move together in a ragged dance. Desperate, clumsy, full of raw, Adeshura's voice rises, a soft, rising keen that breaks into breathless cries as she pushes harder against him, hips grinding with trembling urgency. She whispers in his ear words, spilling fast breath, hotten. "Stop, don't stop, gods, I'm so close." Her walls tighten around him, the glow of her veins brightening as she arches back, one hand braced against the bulkhead behind him. Cyrus watches her, transfixed. By the way her expression shifts, fear melting into a pleasure, arp lines of her jaw softening as her mouth parts in a silent cry. He grips her thighs, guiding her pace, feeling himself building toward the edge. The shuttle rattles around them, alarms flickering on dead consoles, the hum of failing systems A distant background chorus to their ragged moans and gasps. Asher cries out, voice high and shaking as she convulses around him, her body pulsing in waves. Shed grips his shoulders, nails biting into his skin as she rides out the tremor, panting, glowing. Softly, with each shudder, Cyrus can't hold back anymore. He thrusts up hard, burying himself inside her as he spills in her warmth, the pressure breaking. Loose in a deep groan that rumbles from his chest, Asher collapses against him, breath-hitching arms. Wrapped tight around his neck, he holds her one hand, sliding along her back fingers, tracing the slick curve of her spine. The shuttle drifts on, quieting around Themth. Flickering lights fade to a steady glow, the hum of engines smoothing out Tento. A low constant per Asher lifts her head, lips brushing his cheek. "Don't leave me." She whispers, "I'm not going anywhere." He murmurs, voice rough. She kisses him again, slower. This time lingering, a soft promise in the trembling press of her mouth. He breathes Asher, in feeling the soft glow of her body. Against his, the rush of heat. Fading into something deeper, steadier. A fragile but real sense of belonging. He doesn't know what waits for them beyond the stars, but right now with her pressed against him, terror fades, replaced by something that feels dangerously close to hope. Cyrus holds Asher close, feeling the soft tremble in her muscles as the last shivers of release fade through her body. Her breath fans hot across his neck, shallow and uneven, as if every nerve in her slender frame is still burning. Theme of the shuttle fills the cabin in a steady low thrum, broken only by the hissif, the life support vents. Overhead, she shifts in his lap, hips rolling instinctively as if she can't bear the space between them. Her glowing eyes open slowly, lids heavy, watching him with a raw, fragile intensity. The pale luminescence along her throat has diminished lightly, pulsing slower now, matching the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Outside, its void stretches away, an endless sprawl of dark, speckled with distant starlight. But in here, the small cabin feels warm, almost safe. Asher brushes her lips across his jaw, her voice hushed. "I didn't know I could feel this. They took everything from me. I thought I was nothing but a vessel." Cyrus swallows the lump in his throat, thick, painful. He remembers every dirty bunk Hayes collapsed into alone. Every night he pressed a blade against his own thigh to keep from slipping under the weight of fold. Debts and broken promises. He never thought he'd find anything in this rotting corner of space, except more. Penny cups her cheek with one scarred hand, thumb brushing the slick heat of her flushed skin. "You're not a vessel." Hessie's voice, rough. "You're here, you're alive. That's more than they ever wanted. For you, more than they deserve." A tear slips down her cheek, glowing faintly in the dim light. She catches it, with her thumb staring at the tiny drop on her fingertip, before smearing it against his collarbone, marking him with a faint line of soft blue luminescence. "I want to stay alive," she whispers, "with you. I don't want them to cut it out. I don't care what it is anymore. It's part of me now." Her hands tremble against his shoulders, nails dragging lightly across scars beneath his shirt. She shifts again, slowly, deliberately pressing her hips down until he's buried inside her once more. A sharp hiss escapes. His lips lets out a soft moan, eyelids fluttering. As the tension builds between them, again different this time, less frantic, more deliberate, a slow burn that pulses in time with the distant beat of the shuttle's old engines. Asher rolls her hips in a gentle, teasing motion, lips brushing across his, as she speaks in a soft, breathless murmur. "I like the way you feel. It's warm." Real. Cyrus groans, hands gripping her waist as he thrusts up into her, slowly matching her pace. His breath comes rough, hot against her throat. She gasps, voice hitching with each deep movement. "Back in the cages, they never let us touch. We were numbers, samples. This God's, this is mine." He holds her tighter, jaw clenched, feeling the tension coil low in his gut again. He doesn't rush, just moves with her, slow and steady, letting the heat build between them until she's panting, nails digging into his shoulders. Her breath stutters, voice breaking into soft whimpers. "Don't stop, please. I don't want it to end." Outside the viewport, distant stars streak past as the shuttle drifts, the failing NAV system glitching in soft bursts of static on the console. Cyrus barely notices his focus locked on the trembling alien woman moving in his lap. Soft glow of her veins casting pale light across their joined bodies, Shellen's forward fangs grazing. His lower lip, her hips grinding harder now, their rhythm breaking into ragged, needy thrusts. I'm close. She breathes, voice high and strained. I want to feel you, all of you, please. Her body tightens around him, trembling as she rides Thiege, breath breaking into a sharp cry as release slams through her. Cyrus follows, thrusting up hard, his own moan. Rough and low as he spills into her warmth, Asher collapses against him, chest heaving, sweat dripping from her brow onto his neck. He wraps his arms around her, holding her, as the trembling fades, the world settling into soft, heavy silence. She doesn't pull away, she just stays there, pressed close, cheek against his shoulder. Her voice comes soft, almost broken. I don't want to be alone again. She whispers, you won't be, he murmurs, resting his chin on the top of her head. The shuttle rattles gently around them, the faint glow of the failing nav systems flickering in the corner of his eye somewhere. Beyond the metal hall, the universe waits, cold, hungry, full of people who tear her apart for what she carries. Cyrus tightens his hold, ice-narrowing mind. Already calculating he's not going to let that happen, not while he's breathing. Asher stirs. Soft sigh against his neck. Where will we go? He doesn't know yet, but he knows he'll fight to keep her safe. He presses his lips to her damp hair, voice steady, somewhere they can't follow, somewhere. We start over. She nods against him, breathing, easing her body, going limp in his arms outside. The stars will bid us in and cold, but inside, in the warmth of their joined bodies, something new flickers to life. Hope, small but fierce, ready to burn. Asher drifts into knees, sleep against his chest, her breath soft and shallow. Cyrus holds her close, feeling the fading tremble in her muscles, the warmth of her sweat soaked skin against his. The shuttle hums beneath them, the battered old engine steadying into a low, constant thrum that almost sounds like a heartbeat. He brushes her damp hair from her face, studying the faint luminescent lines tracing her neck and collarbone. The glow has softened, but it still pulses gently with each beat of her heart. He does know what exactly lives inside her, only that it isn't just some experiment anymore. It's part of her, part of them. Asher stirs, eyelids fluttering open, her voice comes soft, raw. Cyrus, something's wrong. I feel different. He tenses where she presses a trembling hand to herbally. Her skin is slick, with sweat faintly glowing beneath her palm. It's moving, I can feel it. A cold chill runs through him. He shifts her, careful, using her onto the narrow bunk built into the side of the cockpit. The old cushions creak on her slight weight and aisles. Beside her, one hand gently resting over hers on her stomach. Beneath his callous palm, he feels it, a faint but distinct shift, a slow push against hair fouls from inside. He pulls his hand back as if burnt. Her breath hitches, fear brightening the glow in her veins. What is it? Cyrus forces himself to steady his voice. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. We'll find help. She shakes her head, tears brimming in her luminous eyes. No one will help us. They'll just take it out, sell it like the others. He clenched his jaw, stomach churning at the thought. He's seen what corporate labs do to living bodies. Alien, human, it doesn't matter. There's always a buyer for the right parts. Ashara's breath stutters. I don't want to lose it. I don't care what it is. It's mine. Cyrus nods, voice low but firm. Then we keep it safe. No one touches you. She grips his wrist, nails digging into his skin. Promise me. I promise. Hesse's a crackle bursts from the console, breaking the heavy silence. The old comm system flickers to life, static-filled but clear enough. A cold, mechanical voice drones through the speaker, repeating in an alien dialect. Asher SciFiFantasy, they're still tracking us. Cyrus grabs the battered headset, scanning the sensor readout. A red ping glows near the edge of the sector map, an enforcer patrol closing fast. Shit. He mutters. He punches the throttle, the shuttle lurching forward into the void. Engine hum rises, rattling the cabin walls. Asher grips the bunk rail, her voice strained. We can't outrun them forever. He knows she's right. He watches the sensor, BLIP gain groundaging closer by the second, but then another ping appears on the map, an old service beacon flickering weakly deep route past the station's shipping lanes. A smuggler waypoint hidden abandoned Butmabe, still active. Cyrus steers the shuttle toward it, sweat dripping into his eyes. Hang on. He says we're going dark. The shuttle cuts through the void engine's roaring plasma fire, sparks past the hull close, but wide the harvester's trail behind their sleek black ships barely visible against the stars. Ash Irag grips his shoulder, her voice trembling. It hurts, it's growing faster. He glances at her belly, already slightly swollen. The faint glow brighter along the curve. Her skin, something inside shifts again. It's pushing against her hand, his gut whisks. He knows what this means. They didn't just implant something experimental in her. They started a forced gestation, accelerated growth. Whatever they put inside her, it was never meant to be given time to live. Hemeets. Her eyes, voice steady, despite the fear tearing through his chest, whirring. You and whatever's growing inside you. I swear. Tears spill down her cheeks. I don't want it to. Deesh whispers. It won't, he growls. Not while I'm breathing. The shuttle rattles shard as he hits the old beacon's transponder range. A burst of static echoes through the cabin. Then the system goes dark, power shifting to auxiliary. He kills the engines, letting the shuttle drift into the hidden shadow of a dead freighter hull near the beacon. The harvesters roar past scanners, sweeping bendy space. Cyrus holds his breath, staring at the readout until the red pings fade away into the void. Asher sags against him, tears streaking her glowing cheeks. Her voice comes soft, a trembling plea. We can't run forever. He wraps his arms around her, pressing his lips to her temple. No, he murmurs, we won't have to. I'll find someone to help us someplace they can't follow. Asher clutches him, breath shaking, her tears glowing faintly on his skin for the first time. Cyrus feels the flicker of something like hope, fragile, uncertain, but real. Whatever's inside her is alive, growing, and he won't let them take it. He glances out the viewport at the endless sprawl of stars, tightening his hold on her trembling body. They'd have to fight, hide, run, but together maybe they had a chance outside. The void waits, cold, silent, but full of possibility, and in the dim warmth of the shuttle, a Asherist against him, breathing slow, her belly pulsing faint blue light where new life grows. He leans his forehead to hers, voice low but steady. We're going to make it. He whispers, you mean, and whatever this is, we're going to live. Asher nods weakly, eyes closing, tears still shining. I believe you. She breathes, and for the first time in his life, Cyrus almost believes himself. Days pass in a blur of drifting stars and cautious silence. Cyrus pilots Thishtal deeper into uncharted space, away from the harvesters, away from the endless neon rot of Viral Prime. He patches systems when they break, score abandoned channels for signs of patrols and studies. Old nav charts salvaged from the shuttle's corrupted data banks. Every day feels like a small victory. Every quiet night with a sure-pressed close is another day. They're still alive. Asher sleeps more now. Kirla Dento, the narrow bunk with one hand on her belly. The faint glow of her veins brightens each day, casting soft blue light across the cabin in the dark hours. She wakes often, voice shaky, fear lingering in her eyes, until he wraps his arms around her and murmurs softly against her hair. He's never known this kind of closeness. The quiet sound of her breath at night, the soft sigh when he brushes his thumb along the glowing lines of her throat, the way she presses her lips to his collarbone and murmurs in her alien tongue words he doesn't understand, but that makes something tight in his chest ease. When she smiles now, it's small and uncertain, but real. Old pain in her voice softens the way she looks at him, shifts from desperate need to something warmer, something that almost feels like trust. On the fourth day, he wakes to the hum of the engines, cycling down, a soft warning chime crackling from the console. Asher stirs beside him, her skin warm where it presses against his chest, her voice a soft murmur. What is it? Cyrus pulls on his shirt, moves to the console. The Navri readout blinks weakly. The words proximity alert, habitable zone flickering in dull orange text. He stares, barely daring to hope a planet hangs. On the scanner, lush blue-green ringed with dense cloud cover, no signals. No ships, nothing but silence. He checks the atmospheric readout twice, then turns back to her. It's clean, he says, breathable. No scans, no patrols. We might be safe there. Asher smiles faintly, tears brightening her dark eyes. Then, let's go, she whispers. He sets course, guiding the shuttle through the thin upper atmosphere, the hull rattling softly with friction beyond the viewport. Emerald seas stretch into misty jungle-covered coasts, broken by towering mountains draped in silver clouds. He sees no structures. No neon glow, no corporate scarring of the land, just wild living world. The shuttle touches down in a clearing near the edge of dense forest, the landing strut sinking into soft dirt. Cyrus cuts the engines, silence falling across the cabin like a gentle blanket. Asher grips his hand, voice trembling with something he hasn't heard before. Joy, it's beautiful, she whispers. They step outside together, the humid air rushing over their skin. The sky is bright golden, sun casting thick beams through. Canopy overhead. Asher lifts her face to the light, her pale skin shimmering with sweat, the blue glow off her veins dimming in the daylight. Cyrus watches her, feeling something tight loosen in his chest. He wants this moment burned into his bones. Her smile, the light on her cheeks, the soft hum of wind in the trees later. He rigs a small shelter from the shuttle's old hull panels and scorched tarpaulins. He finds edible roots near the tree line, spears mailbirds with makeshift bolts, brings them back to the tiny camp where Asher waits, belly rounding more each day. She sits on an old blanket in the shade, fingers tracing the curve of her stomach, humming softly to the life inside. Her voice is fragile but sweet, carrying across the clearing in a gentle melody that makes the hairs on Cyrus's arms rise in the evenings they sit together in the warm dirt. Asher, curled against this side, his arm around her shoulders. She tells him about her home, vast crystal plains, beneath purple skies, cold winds that whistled through glass towers, a world gone now, stripped by corporate harvesters, her people scattered into the void. He listens quietly, his hand resting over hers where it cups her belly. He feels small shivers beneath her skin, sometimes soft pulses against his palm, teeny fluttering signs of life. At night they make love slowly with quiet urgency, no rush, no frantic terror, just the steady rhythm of shared warmth and breath, the soft glow of her veins bending pale lines across their joint skin. He holds her through the night, feeling her heartbeat slow and a sleep-tight coil of fear unspooling just a little more with every sunrise. A week passes, the old shuttle becomes more like a home, its battered walls patched with scavenged plating, its bunks soft with blankets stripped from storage locker suture. Hums often now, soft alien songs that fill the space with life. On the night, a soft rain drifts through the clearing, pattering against the metal roof. Asher presses close to him, breath warm on his throat. I don't hear them anymore, she whispers. The voices that taunted me, they're gone. He brushes a kiss along her brow. They can't find a shear, he murmurs. She smiles, sleepy and soft. Thank you for saving me, for staying. Cyrus swallows the lump in his throat. You saved me too, he says. Outside its rain falls steady, washing away old blood, old memories, old fear. Inside the small shelter they breathe in quiet, sink the soft glow of Ashara's belly, pulsing with new life between them. Tomorrow, he thinks they'll build a new life, hair grow, a garden, find fresh water, keep watch, stay sharp. But tonight, in the hush of rain and the soft heat of her body, he lets himself believe they are safe, funnily for this moment. And for the first time since he can remember, Cyrus doesn't feel alone.